I'm Carolee Garrison, singer-songwriter, self-care coach for burnt-out moms, and your host of the Seeking Sunshine podcast, where we find the positive in the trials of life.
There are times when life just brings you down, 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 down to the ground. And it's hard when you can't see the light, 'cause things don't look so bright. So now it's time to reframe and retrain your brain. It's time to look for the good. You know that you should. Why don't you join me? 'Cause I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. Oh, oh, oh. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine. I'm seeking sunshine.
I'm so excited to share this new version of my single Seeking Sunshine with you in my upcoming album. I don't have a release date yet, but stay tuned, it's coming up. Are you looking for ways to support my podcast? If so, then please like it, subscribe it, and leave it a review. Did you know that if you leave a review, it helps my podcast get shown to more people? I would so appreciate it if you could leave some words in the review box and let people know. Share this with your friends and family and just tell them about the episodes that you really like and some of the takeaways that you've personally received and that have helped you out. Do you have an amazing story to share? It's my belief that we all do, that we've all been through really, really tough things, and that when we share our stories, it's beneficial for us, but it's also beneficial for everyone who gets to hear it. We all have stories of overcoming that we can teach what we've learned to other people and inspire and uplift those around us. So if you feel called to share your story, please reach out to me. You can email me at seekingsunShinepodcast@gmail.com. Hey guys, real quick, I wanted to remind you that the doors are officially open for my Shine Self-Care Coaching Program. This is a program that will take you from burnout, from being overwhelmed all the time and stressed with your life just feeling completely out of control, to a place of peace and freedom and joy. Did you know that it's possible for you to change your mindset and feel happy no matter what is going on in your life? I have had so much practice in overcoming and persevering through really, really tough times, and I know that it's true, that you can find joy no matter what is going on in your life. I would love to take you by the hand and guide you through this process, and I want you to know that unless you do something to change your habits and your mind, nothing's gonna change. It's up to you. You have to be the one to decide that enough is enough and that it's time to make a difference in your life. You can live the life that you've always dreamed of. Are you ready for it? Reach out to me. You can find me at seekingsunshinepodcast@gmail.com, or you can find more information on my website, caroleegarrison.com. Just schedule a little 15-minute clarity call with me and we can talk together and determine if this is the right path for you. I'm excited to see you. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Seeking Sunshine podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for joining me as we try to spread more sunshine in this world. I think that this world really, really needs all the sunshine it can get. And you being here is just, it's a beautiful act of spreading sunshine, right? And if you love to spread sunshine, and if you love what you hear today, or you love any of these episodes, it would really, really just make my heart glow if you would share it, if you would leave a review, text somebody this episode, any way to get the word out there so that we can make this world just a more joyful place. That is my goal. So today we have a really incredible interview with Nicki Joyner. She has been through just such an incredible trial, and I related so much to her on so many levels. Nicki actually had gastric sleeve surgery, and it went really terribly wrong, and she was in the hospital for a really long time and almost died. And As you guys might know, I had the same surgery just a few years ago, and my experience was definitely not the same as hers, but like just hearing her resilience in the face of such an incredible trial has been really inspiring to me, and I know that it can be inspiring to you too. So Nicki she's got 2 degrees and 2 certificates. She is a seasoned facilitator in her local community, an award-winning entrepreneur, and she leverages both formal and informal training to deliver engaging keynotes and workshops. She's lost 95 pounds after having gastric sleeve surgery 8 months ago, where she experienced severe complications and cheated death. She found sunshine in the small moments and in the people that helped her push through. She is amazing, guys. She really, really is. And this story is so engaging, and it's just one that you have to hear. So I am thrilled to share it with you. Without any further ado, here is my interview with Nicki. Hi, Nicki. I'm so excited to have you on the Seeking Sunshine podcast.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just dive right in. I want to get to know you and hear all about your story and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, it's an awesome yet loaded question, but I'm totally here for it. So, yeah, hey listeners. I'm Nicki, she, her, hers, and I'm coming at you live from Dallas, where I live and work. I always start off my introduction like that because I think who I am is really shaped, or I should say where I've been has really shaped who I am. And I have moved 9 times since graduating high school. I am
Wow.
about 10 years into my career. Yeah. So I've moved a lot. Um, I've moved a lot of
Well,
times.
and moving is so hard. Like moving sucks. It's one of the things that I absolutely hate. I think we've moved like 5 times
Oh,
since
yes.
we
Oh, I
graduated, but I'm in Utah. We came here from San Antonio. So,
okay. Okay, yeah, yeah. So I mean, I've been all over the country. I've lived in Arizona, Atlanta. I was born and raised in Michigan, so I'm Midwest gal at heart. So I lived in Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Alabama, and now most recently Texas. So
so
it's
fun.
been, yeah, it's been quite the whirlwind. But I feel like that's really shaped who I am, and it also is really indicative of things that are present in my life, but also things that scare me, right? And I think as like adults, we spend a lot of time trying to figure out who we are as people, because being an adult is hard. And though it may be glamorous and sexy, and people may, see that, being an adult is cool because you get to quote unquote make your own decisions, it's also really hard to be an adult. It's really hard to be an adult. It's really hard to make friends. It's really hard to keep schedule. It's really freaking hard to be an adult.
Absolutely. And I feel like as kids, we're all like, I just can't wait to grow up and be an adult already. And then you're like, oh my gosh, wait, no, this was hard.
Yes, that was me. Like, I'd like to return this. Thank you. I'd like to return my adulthood and give it to someone else.
Like, let's go back to the days where my parents were in charge of everything.
Yes.
And
Yep.
I was just an ungrateful teenager.
Me. Are you talking about me? Oh, okay, cool. Yes, that was 100% me. So yeah, I've been really exploring what adulthood looks like for me, I think in a lot of different ways. And one of my most recent milestones was getting married. So I got married in November. So we are just rocking with just over 2 months. I've been married.
Yay! Congratulations. You're still in the honeymoon phase.
We definitely are. We are still in that honeymoon phase. So yeah, that's definitely been something that has shaped me. And I think, up to that point of marriage, there was a lot of things that had shaped me into, kind of who I am today and how I realized that. And when I learned about this podcast, and I learned about seeking sunshine and what that meant for me and kind of all of those surrounding pieces of my life, I immediately thought of my weight loss journey. So that's what I'm here to talk about today, is my weight loss journey.
Awesome. I'm all here for it. You don't know this, I'm sure. But I actually had gastric sleeve surgery 2 years ago. And so I'm about 100 pounds down. So I've had my own journey with that. And you know what? It is life altering, like mentally, like it is so mentally challenging, and it's beautiful too, but it definitely has a lot of hard things in it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I didn't know that. So our weight loss journeys may be similar, I think, in a lot of ways. So yes, fun fact of the day. But yeah, so I've been I was in this space for a while where I wasn't really comfortable with who I was, but I was very confident. And I think that's often like a weird place to be in. I've always been super outgoing. I've always been what I believe to be personable and leading teams at work and volunteering to do things outside of work and really sociable and all of these pieces. And I was, confident in my ability to execute whatever I needed to confident in my ability to, do my job, confident in my ability to be in spaces where I could make friends or help people feel like they matter, but I wasn't always comfortable with myself. And I think it took a long time for me to realize the difference between being confident in my ability to do something and being comfortable in my own self. Um, I would say if you connected with virtually anybody that knows me, they would describe me as like a professional hype person. Sometimes I get like professional hype person. Sometimes I get like Nicki is like soccer mom status on 10. I am the person that just likes to hype people up in my life. I like to help people feel like they matter. I feel like that's just an important thing. And even before the pandemic and all the things associated, like I've just always been that person. And I realized I think in the end of 2020, early 2021, that while I am a professional hype person and that is my way of life and kind of the unofficial role I take in a lot of spaces, like that doesn't mean that I'm happy with my own self. And I think I diverted to that a lot, to hype other people up and pump other people up because it made me feel good. And when I was talking about myself and being with myself, I didn't feel as good.
It sounds like you brought sunshine to everyone around you, but not to yourself. Didn't allow
But not
yourself to feel
myself.
that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
I
when I
think it's such a common problem where we're
is
like we look for all of that validation from outside, but we refuse to give it to ourselves.
exactly. Yeah. And I mean, there's like a ton of quotes out there and, mantras and different pieces about, give people the same love that, you deserve the same love that you give people or like, keep the same energy for yourself as you do for other people. And I'd see those every once in a while and I just kind of chalk it up to whatever, like cool little piffy catchy quote. But I think a lot of why I was unhappy with myself had to do with my habits. And I used food as a coping mechanism in a lot of ways. And as a result, I became unhappy with the way that I looked and felt. So I know that, different people get the surgery for different reasons. And I'm not here to shame whatever the reasons are, right? My sister got the surgery about 3 years before I did. And if you ask her, she will flat out say 100%, I did it for vanity. I 100% did it for vanity. I didn't like the way I looked. I wanted to change, et cetera, et cetera. She
Which,
is,
it's important to be happy with how you look.
it is
It's
one,
important. I mean,
100%.
on the one hand, it's important to embrace your flaws and be like, I'm never gonna look like a Barbie doll. Can I be okay with that? Can I still love myself anyway? But then there's, this level of like, if you can change something that will help you, like in a reasonable way that's gonna help you, then do that. Let's
Right.
increase the self-love, not throw on shame.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, I see that a lot in some of our Facebook groups and things. Like people are really honest with why they want to get the surgery and people just shame in the groups. And I'm like, yo, like
Oh,
this lives. Like
those groups, I think I actually just left them all
yeah,
because they are
too
so
much.
they're
Too much.
so like toxic and so
Yes.
scary how people treat each other when
Yes.
they yeah.
Yes. Those groups, in my opinion, are the definition of hurt people hurt people. And
That
there are
is
a lot of people in those
mhm.
Facebook groups that I think are still hurt and still exploring what their own journey looks like
Yeah.
because weight loss is mental in a lot of ways. And it has been for me. And I think, there is some realizations that I've come to and some things I had to wrestle with on my own. But ultimately, I came to this space where I was not happy with who I am. I wasn't confident or comfortable with who I was. And I had started a speaking and consulting agency about 3 years ago, and I was on the road traveling, and I couldn't do a 45-minute session without being winded. I could not be up there and sharing my message and doing what I love to do because I was getting winded. I was like, I am not healthy. Like, I am not good. And then in turn, I started thinking about, is it me? Is it my message? Is it, all of these things? And I started internalizing all of those things. So I had a speaking engagement at Syracuse University up in New York, and one of my colleagues and friends was there, and he took some photos of me, and he sent them to me after, and he was like, "Hey, Nicki, like I got these photos for you. You can use them as action shots." And I'm like, "Wow, Kyle, thank you so much." And I looked at the photos, and I was like, "This is not me. This is not who I want to be." And that was my decision-making moment to have the surgery. And in a lot of ways, I think it was a pivotal moment because my process moved from there really quickly. So that was in February of 2020, first week of February, and I had my surgery on April 1st, 2020.
Holy cow! I had mine. Oh my gosh, what year is it? I had mine July of 2020.
Oh wow, okay, yeah. And when I say 2020, I mean 2022, not 2020.
Oh, okay. Mine was 2020.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So
I was like,
much farther.
Mine was 2 years ago. Okay, two and a little bit, 2.5 almost. Jeez.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So I'm not even a year out. I'm not even a year out from my surgery. I had it on April 1st, which hindsight, we make jokes about this in my family all the time, but like maybe not the best day. Maybe not April Fool's Day for me to have this surgery.
Funny.
Maybe not.
So funny. Well, and actually, my brother and my sister-in-law had theirs done in May.
Oh
This
wow.
last year.
Okay.
So, and I just saw them a few days ago actually, and they're doing so great. And it's so sad. I've seen so many people who have had struggles with it. Like, I mean, physical struggles is a mental struggle, like through and through, for sure. But like, it's so sad when a lot of times, and you expect it to be such a simple procedure, and then there's complications, and it's heartbreaking.
Oh yeah. I mean, that is exactly what happened to me. Exactly what happened to me. I watched my sister go through this process. She healed so quickly. She started new routines and, did all of this lifestyle change. And I just watched her confidence skyrocket. She was flourishing, living her best life. And I was ready for that to happen for me. And, after surgery, you're always groggy, right? You're always like, the worst decision ever, right? You're like,
oh, dude, I think I slept for 9 hours. Like, I had my surgery.
Oh, yeah.
And then they like couldn't get me to wake up, but I was like, nope, I'm good. I'm gonna sleep. But also, I have 3 kids, so it was like I'm just gonna sleep for a really long time, and like they were all worried. And
yeah. I mean, and I saw so many things online and read so many horror stories from people, but a lot of those were surrounded on I didn't follow the instructions. I didn't do what I was supposed to do, or I have previous complications that in turn impacted the way this surgery panned out for me. And my surgeon was awesome. She explained a lot of things to me. Like, she was very, very clear on, what the process was, what I can expect, all of these things. But I was in a good bill of health other than being what the United States classifies as morbidly obese. So I was at a BMI of like 42, I think. And I was in this space where I was going in, I had positive, vibes. I'm like, send them to me, all of these things. And the day of my surgery, I had to be stuck 11 times in order to get my IV in because I was so dehydrated.
Because you were dehydrated because you weren't drinking enough.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't consuming enough liquid. 64 ounces was not enough for my body. I'd also started my menstrual cycle the night before my procedure, and just all of those things combined. So, you're already going into this procedure. I am trying to seek the sunshine in every way I possibly can. Like, I'm not ready to go under, but I want my life to change. I want to, be in this better place, all of these pieces. And yeah, they had to stick me 11 times.
Oh,
And
and that's
finally,
brutal.
oh,
That
it's
is
so bad.
so brutal.
That should have been my cue to like park it and do it a different day, but no, I didn't. So after that, I was like, okay, fine, we're going in, like, it's okay, we're gonna be fine, everything's gonna be fine. I did my procedure and I, went through the post-op stuff. I was at the hospital for a couple of hours. My now husband took me back to the hotel. We spent the night there and then we left the next day. And the first couple,
Which that's so crazy to me. So my brother and sister-in-law had theirs done in Mexico. And
okay.
probably had about a similar experience. Mine was done here in the US, and they kept me for a day or two, like a day and a half or so. Yeah, so I definitely stayed the night, and so it seems wild to me that like, oh, okay, 2 hours after surgery, bye.
Literally.
Like,
Yep.
there you go. And I'm like, I could hardly walk.
My surgery was done at like noon 30 and I was out of there by 3:30. I mean, they were like, you will do these things, you will drink these ounces, and then you will leave. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm outie.
Mine was at like 9 a.m. They were probably done by 10, and I slept until 9 or 10 that night. And then the next day.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of the ways in which we experience that, and I've noticed there's a lot of surgeons that do things differently. But also the time in which we had our surgeries during the pandemic probably played a super large role in how we experienced it. Like, they were getting people out of the hospital.
Well,
like,
yours was April 2022. Mine was in the middle of 2020.
Yeah.
Mine was in July 2020.
Yeah. So yeah, it's wild.
You know what? It is really wild how insanely different, not just the procedure. I mean, and all the stuff that surrounds it, but also the pre-op and the post-op. And it's just, and that's a big part of where all that like judgment stems from, is because everyone's like, well, my surgeon told me to do it this way, so this must be the one right way because it's what I was told. But like, everybody is different, and not just every person, that's not what I mean, but all the surgeons are choosing different standards for their particular practice, which makes everyone really confused.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, people are getting advice online from strangers, essentially. Like, what about this? I don't know about this. And then we get into like this shame circle, like, well, like, XYZ, whatever. So yeah, it was just, it was a whole process for me. But I think, going through that, coming home, I experienced a lot of pain. Most people do. Most people talk about like that chest pain. Like, I experienced that a lot in the first couple of days. I was like, this is unbearable. Like, it's not going away.
Which that comes from the gas from the surgery, because they kind of puff up your whole body so that they can get to the right organs.
Right.
And then you have gas pains, for anyone who's not familiar with this.
Yeah. And those gas pains, oh my gosh, they were excruciating for me. And my husband actually like printed off photos. I love the beach. I love the sun. I just love the sunset type of deal. And he like put them all around. It was like, when you get better,
so
like we will,
I love it.
like, you keep the faith, like you will be better. And my recovery was really slow, and it seemed really a lot slower than other people and other things that I have read. And I ended up seeing my surgeon virtually twice. I ended up going in for an additional test and nothing came back. They were just like, hey, sometimes people tolerate pain differently. And I just felt like there was something.
I hate that line.
I know.
Like, well, maybe you just suck at tolerating pain.
Yep.
Maybe you're just, you're 100%. Actually experiencing the same amount of pain as other people, but you think it's worse in your head. And you're like, how is that helpful?
It's super not helpful at all.
Actually, like, really insulting.
Yeah. And a form of gaslighting, if we're being honest. So it was like a whole thing. And from April 1st until the first week of May, I was not getting better. And people kept saying, like, you just got to push it, Nicki. Like, sometimes you can be a little dramatic, sometimes, this, whatever. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. And it's not
And
getting
you have to pay attention to your own body. And you're
exactly.
like, hello, like I live here. This is me here,
Yeah.
right? In
I
this
live here.
body. I live here. I
Yeah.
know what this, I've experienced pain. I've experienced, growth and how my body works, and I'm feeling like something's wrong. Can somebody please like freaking pay attention and like validate what I'm feeling here? And it sucks how often our doctors just don't do that.
Yep. Yep. And that's exactly what happened to me. And I'm over here every single day trying to seek the positive, do what I need to do to, remain positive. And a lot of people kept saying, it's a mindset thing. It's a mindset thing. And I just kept trying and trying and trying. And I remember going to visit my mom for my birthday / Mother's Day, which was the first week of May. So I traveled from Texas to Michigan to see her.
That's a
And
long way.
it
That's a
is,
lot of
yes.
travel for so soon.
Yeah, and my flight was miserable. I was so miserable on my flight, and I just remember like going to my parents' house and trying to get my protein in and my liquids, and like I was feeling so awful. I couldn't do anything.
So what was it? Just out of curiosity, since I went through
Yeah.
this, I had a really hard time walking for about a month. Like
Mhm.
I didn't have a bunch of gas pains, but I almost didn't walk for a month.
Oh,
Because I just have incisions in places, and I
yeah,
don't
and
know.
they
My
look
body
cool.
doesn't react well to abdominal surgery.
Same,
Yeah.
same.
But like a lot of people experience like constant puking or constant like just I mean the utter weakness is like 100% a thing for everyone, because all of a sudden you
Mhm.
cannot eat anything and your body's like, where's the fuel? Hello,
Right.
I need this fuel. And so you're just exhausted for at least a few weeks, if not a month. So
That
what
was
was it, out
100%.
of curiosity?
Yeah, that was 100% me. And after I came back from my visit with my parents, I contacted my surgeon and I was like, something is not well. And my husband took me to the emergency room because I was having this awful this awful pain in my side on my left side, and my pancreas was failing. Yeah.
What?
They took me to the emergency room. They ran some tests. They did some blood work. They did a CT. And then I had to drink some of this like liquidy thing. And then they did a scan with it to see if I had a leak. I had a leak. And it was so minor. It was like an eighth of an inch, but it had been there since the surgery. So everything that I was putting into my body, everything that I was consuming, at that point, I was still on a liquid diet. I was just doing shakes. I wasn't doing any food, but everything that I was putting into my stomach was going into my abdominal cavity. And the first organ to go was my pancreas.
So
And
was
I,
there, so you had a hole, you had a, but
yep.
was your pancreas like compromised? Because that I have a severely autistic 11-year-old who's also type 1 diabetic. So
Mhm.
I'm fairly familiar with type 1 diabetes and diabetes in general and how that goes with the pancreas. And so that's where my mind goes when you
Yeah.
say, oh my gosh, my pancreas, something happened to it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, not that. That's awful.
Yeah. It's like one of the worst organs, I think, to be affected. So I was diagnosed with pancreatitis. And they had, sent me to the hospital. I actually took an ambulance there back to the hospital. I got the surgery too. And there, my surgeon diagnosed me with pancreatitis. And then the next day, my kidneys started failing. So my pancreas was shot, my kidneys were failing. And my husband called my mom and was like, I think you need to get down here. They just took her to ICU and they need to do some sort of like emergency surgery. She probably needs to go on dialysis. Like
So
it
this
was a
was
lot.
all because the outsides of the organs were being affected by like protein shakes and liquids.
Yeah. So it was
I
going into
did
my,
not know that that could happen.
yeah, into the cavity of my stomach. So your stomach coats and protects everything that you eat essentially. And when there's that leak, it goes, I mean, again, 1/8 of an inch is so small, but when you think, if you were to have a 1/8 of an inch hole in a cup and watch it leak for a month, holy schmoly, that's a lot, right? So first it was my pancreas, then it was my kidneys, then I became tachycardic. And I don't even remember being in the ICU at that point. Like, I just remember my mom randomly showing up with my sister and me just being hooked up to all of these IVs and all this stuff. And I had no idea what was going on. I was out for the count. Like, and I just remember for a couple of days being in the emergency room. I mean, they had me on a pick line. They were, essentially like feeding me nutrients through my IV. And I just remember a couple days after that, my mom coming in and she's like, hey, there's some serious stuff we need to consider. And I want you to meet with the surgeon. And my mom is not normally a calm person. That's probably really important to mention. She's not usually calm. And in that moment, she was really calm. And I was like, am I dying? I think I'm dying. And I was in fact dying. So my surgeon said, hey, we've got to put a stent in because my leak was in my esophagus here, not in my belly. And when most people think of leak, they think of like, oh, they cut out your stomach, so your leak is in your stomach. No, mine was in my esophagus, which essentially
means.
Yeah, that's a great question.
I'm like, how does that?
I got nicked during the surgery. Yeah. So the only plausible cause is that I got nicked during the surgery. So I had and my esophagus was really inflamed, and that's why everyone kept saying your organs are failing, you're tachycardic, you might need, dialysis, your pancreas, all of these things. And I'm over here like, I can't swallow. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. It's not the same. Well, that's why. It's because my esophagus was so swollen. So
did it make it hard to breathe?
Yeah. So I could breathe, but anytime I swallowed, it was uncomfortable.
Well, I could totally see why they were like, oh, you're having a hard time swallowing. That's exactly what every other person who has this surgery says, except for it's different because it's not the same. When somebody, I don't know, for me, it was like, it would get stuck here and I could feel it. And then if I gave it time, it would go down, which I guess you can't see me. I'm like, I can't even describe where I'm touching like my esophagus, I guess.
It's like your breastbone.
Yeah, your breastbone. And you could feel food kind of get stuck down there. And then you just wait. But I don't think that ever happened with liquids, actually. So there's a sign, right? And you just kind of feel it. And then eventually it would kind of fade. And I'm not a puker, so I never puked, actually even once. But so for you to describe it as, oh, I can't swallow or it hurts to swallow, I could see why they would interpret that as this is typical, because, and I guess that's just a flashing sign of we need to learn, everyone in the world, how to better describe what we're feeling and how to ask better questions.
Yep, 100%. And I think, my surgeon did a really good job of asking questions to me. But to your point, I was so fatigued. I just kept saying, I feel pain here. It feels like pressure. So being able to describe that, I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, that's what it is. But I'm so fatigued to the point where how I described it in April of 2022 is not how I would describe it now, because I was, I got 1,400 more calories in me today. It's a lot different, right? And
when your brain can't think, how are you supposed to describe things? Yep. But then it just goes back to that point of doctors not taking you seriously. Here we are, you saw them 2 times within the first month, and then you went back again, right?
Yeah.
Before they finally were like, oh, hey, let's actually look.
Yeah. So I saw my surgeon twice. Virtually. I had a test done at the hospital. I was in the emergency room 3 times, and I was overnightly admitted for 5 days before all of this stuff happened.
Wow. Okay. Sorry. I had another thought. Did they do a swallow test?
They did
after
not.
your surgery. See, there we go. I I actually have no idea if I had a swallow test. I can't remember, but like
Yep, they did
a lot
not.
of surgeons do a swallow test before you, like right after your surgery, before you're allowed to leave. And if they had done that
Mhm.
for you, that would have been the end. That like they
You
would
would
have
have
known
been able to
right
catch it.
away. Yeah,
Yeah.
before
But
anything failed.
and one of so the main test that I got in the middle of April, early May was actually a swallow test, and it came back fine. So
Whoa.
because the leak was so minimal, I mean, it's 1/8 of an inch. Like, because it was so minimal, it was taking eons for any test to be able to identify, because a leak typically is not that small. And you get a fever with it, and the symptoms onset pretty quickly. So you're like, okay, something's wrong, right? Something's wrong. I know I got to fix it. And then usually that's how folks can catch it. But in my case, it was just like here you're in the less than 1%, Nicki. And like, there's a lot of things I'd want to be in the 1% in, but this certainly not this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Hmm.
it was certainly not that. So yeah, I spent about 45 days in the hospital.
Holy cow, that's a long time.
It was a very long time. And like I said, I'm a transplant. So my parents came down here. My grandma came, my aunt came, my sister came. And I was in the hospital, I think, for 46 days in total. And this stint, I think, was 38 or 39 days. I was in the hospital straight. So I know that we love to joke about how we want to sit in the house and do nothing, but it's not the same.
No,
It's
and okay, hospitals are awful. Sitting in the hospital sucks. And you think that it's just like, oh, you're sitting in a bed and sleeping, and it's like you get no sleep when you're at the hospital. Like
Mhm.
you do not sleep. Like, and the bed is so uncomfortable, and you I mean, yes, you're in tons of pain, but none of the like comforts of home are there. You got this awful bed that doesn't it's just not comfortable. It's not You can't relax, and then there's just never ending beeping, and there's never
all
ending streams of people in your room, and you're like, no,
Yep.
this is not restful and relaxing. This bites. Like when you leave the hospital, you have to recover from being in the hospital.
Oh, I still experience a lot of trauma. Like, my body, when we drive by a hospital, like, I will begin to go into panic mode because it was it,
PTSD.
yep, it was 100% a
Man.
life-changing experience. And like, being in the hospital for that long, like, yeah, there's beeping, people are overly nice to you because they know you're not feeling well, but like, you're poked and prodded all the time. You're leaving to go for tests. You don't really understand what the tests are, but you're so foggy anyways, and people are essentially telling you have to do it.
It's so invasive, like to
It's
your body and to
going
yourself. Like it is so invasive. It's like your privacy goes out the window. They're like, yeah, we'll help you pee. And you're like, I'm an adult.
I
Like I
mean,
should be able to go do this, to go shower on my own. Thanks. Actually, I don't want your help. And then it's like, I mean, I imagine in your shape, it was like maybe you had to have that help,
I
'cause
did.
and
Yep.
and that's just so like demoralizing and invasive, and I've
Yeah.
never been through that. I think my longest stay in the hospital was when I had my C-section with my youngest, which was about 5 days.
Mhm.
Um, and it was just awful. But hospitals,
Just the whole it's
it's
a whole
just
different world.
and there's so I mean the PTSD from hospital experiences is
It's a lot, yeah. And
it's a
it
lot.
and it and it continues to be a lot, and I think it'll probably take a while to unpack all of it. But I think for me, the one thing that was really eye-opening during my overall experience was like some of the little things that I take for granted that like do bring me sunshine that I didn't get in the hospital. So like, I I love a good shower. Put me in the shower, put it on cold, like, let me reset. In the hospital, I couldn't shower myself. Like, I couldn't shower myself, and my mom and my husband literally showered me. But when you think about it, like, you got a PICC line in your arm, you got to put your arm outside of the shower. Like, it's not a real shower, right? And like, just so many things that I often like took for granted, like as simple as a shower. And being in a space where I was like, wow, like I'm gonna need to reset my whole life. And like, when I left the hospital after that long, I still had another month or so of recovery. And by then we were in July, June and July. And I mean, I was just in this space where I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get better. I don't know if I'm ever going to get better. Like, it was so hard to find positivity in everything because my whole world was upside down. Like,
Yeah. And then it comes to that point and it's like, oh, you had weight loss surgery, and yeah, your weight probably plummeted during
it
that
did.
time, but it's like you don't even care anymore at
Yep.
that point. It's like, nope, I just want to feel like a human again. Thanks. I'll take that.
Yep. 100%. And people kept anchoring in that over and over again. They were like, wow, like you've lost so much weight. Like, this is exactly what you wanted. And I kept having to remind my family and close friends, this is not what I wanted. This is not what I signed up for. This is not what I wanted. And to this day, people still ask me, like, was it worth it? Like, would you do it again? And my answer wholeheartedly is no. If I knew what I know now, if I had a crystal ball to know that I would go through what I went through, would I still make the same decision? My answer is no, I would not. I would look at different options. I would explore options. And I think, again, anchoring in what we talked about, like every surgeon is different. I made my decision the second week of February, and my surgery was April 1st. Like, I had no minimum time frame with my insurance. I had 2 consultations with my doctor, and the second one was because I asked for an additional one. Like, there was not a lot of prep, and I should have taken it more seriously. I should have asked more questions. Like, I should have been more on top of it, and I wasn't, because of the environment I was in. I was socialized to think, well, this is how it goes, right? This is
Oh
how it
no, it's so much of like, oh, this is gonna be great. It's gonna be amazing. Everything's gonna go great. It's so easy. It's so simple, and it's actually like not. Like,
happens.
even when it goes according to plan, quote unquote, like it's still
Right.
not
It's a
simple. And
lot.
like me, I actually decided in the first day of January, I was like, I'm gonna do this, and then I didn't have mine till the very end of July, like the 27th of
Wow.
July. So I had almost 8 full months before I was able to do that. So I had a lot of prep time and a lot of, and what,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how religious you are. And if you don't want to get into this, that's fine. But I'm very religious. And so one of the things that anchored me when I was like freaking out and worried about it, and when I was in pain, was like, I felt really strongly that like I had been led to this, and that then it was going to be okay. And like I had that really strong kind of spiritual basis behind mine.
Yeah.
I'm curious
Yeah.
what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that it was time for something different. And I don't think that I really started to anchor in, like, why am I here, until probably the second week after I got out of the ICU. And, a lot of people talk about the hospital being awful, and we hit on a lot of awful things that, that are in the hospital. And like, hopefully we painted like a really solid picture of what that is. But I think nothing is worse than being alone in your room at night. For me, nothing was worse than that. Nothing was worse than the continuous beeping every 46 seconds. Like, nothing was worse than that. Nothing was worse than people feel like obligation for people to stay super late, even though I was sleeping, waking up, because they didn't want me to be alone. Like, nothing was worse than that, like, 10 p.m., 11 p.m., midnight time frame where you're just like by yourself. And in those moments, I was like, maybe there's a greater reason for this. Maybe there's a greater reason why I'm here thinking about this and experiencing it the way that I am. Because I do believe that everything happens for a reason. And me and my husband have had really extensive conversation about this, but I have gone most of my life flying by the seat of my pants. That is who I am as a person. It is always who I've been as a person. And that's why I very intentionally introduced myself the way that I did, because I fly by the seat of my pants in every aspect of my life. Like, again, I've moved 9 times since I graduated high school, like 9 times in 15 years. That's a lot of times. That's a lot of change. And I am used to starting over. I am used to, picking up things and doing them. I am not a list type of person. I'm not a schedule type of person. I just fly by the seat of my pants. And for 31 years, it worked for me. And I was really thriving in a lot of places in my life. And I think the biggest change for me, and ultimately the biggest sunshine moment for me, was, yes, I changed the ways in which I eat. Yes, I've changed my habits. I've changed all of those things. But for me, the surgery and this whole process in general has helped me to have a different outlook on life. That, like, when I fly by the seat of my pants, sometimes other people can't catch me. And in my case, other people became my own self. And I couldn't catch my own self. And I was flying off the handle doing, 87,000 things per day. And I couldn't even keep up with my own self.
It makes me wonder if you were running away from yourself.
Oh, I most definitely was. I most definitely was. And I was running towards things that I could complete or do, or things that I was good at. And this surgery has really allowed me to see that, like, sometimes we need to sit in our own mess. And, like, I am not good about prioritizing meals. I'm not good about it. And in this, I have to, because I'm no longer eating for pleasure. I'm eating to survive. Like, if I don't get a certain amount of calories, if I don't get a certain number of protein grams, like, my bones start to ache, like my teeth will fall out, my hair will fall out. Like, it's no longer, I'm trying to eat one meal because I'm trying to intermittently fast. And folks, I'm doing the quote arms here, like intermittently fast, right? Or doing things because I'm eating this because, it's pleasurable. For me now, I eat to stay alive. And I eat to stay healthy.
It's so true. Like, I would forget to eat all the time when I was bigger. I would just forget to eat all day because I'd be go, 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 go. And it's like really about being intentional with your life and intentional with caring for your own body, which
Yep.
it just never seems like a priority when you're like a teenager. And then you get to your 30s and you're like, oh, hey, maybe I should, like, actually take care of this gift I was given because I kind of need it to keep going in this life.
Right. And that is the one thing really that I took the most from this whole experience, was like, I need to be intentional about the way that I care for myself in all aspects. Right. And as someone who spends a lot of time caring for other people, like, that has been hard for me to do. But I also think, like, as women, we are socially conditioned to be caregivers. And it's taken a lot of unlearning and processing about how do I do that in a way that feels genuine, but also feels right. Because
oh my gosh,
conditioned to be
yes.
caregivers.
So, okay, I don't think I've said this yet to you. I have 3 kids with autism. I have 3 kids on the autism spectrum. 2 are high functioning. One of them is also type 1 diabetic. My severely autistic nonverbal is type 1 diabetic. And then my husband was disabled for a decade. So I was his caretaker and their caretaker. And so this whole journey for me has been like, who am I again? Like, where's Carolee in this life? Like, I had to find myself again, because you can't care for other people if you don't first care for yourself. They say the stupid cliche thing about the oxygen mask in the airplane, but it really is like the most true thing. If you don't
100%.
care for your body and care for your mind and invigorate your mind with your passions and, like, put yourself first, it's just not selfish, it's essential.
Right.
So
It
that
is.
you can be there for the rest of the world.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that has just been my number one, I think, developmental point, my number one focal point, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I do believe everything happens for a reason. Would I go back and get the same surgery if I knew all of this before? I wouldn't. I would explore other options. I would try something else. But again, I do think that this happened for a reason. And
Well, and you're still in healing. I mean,
I am.
this is really not very long ago. I mean, we're talking
Yeah.
6 months ago.
Yep.
About
So
like you're still healing. Like
the-
your body is still healing, but your mind it's gonna take some time before
oh
you
yeah.
can really look back on this experience and be like, oh, okay,
Yes, years.
here's how that led. Yeah, and
Yeah.
sometimes when we're in the middle of these just horrifically awful things, we just cannot see it. Like I have
Mhm.
this crazy story of it was 2018 and my severely autistic, completely nonverbal 7-year-old, was admitted to the hospital and almost died because he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And I was so far in it that I could not see anything else. It was just tunnel
Mhm.
vision of like surviving this day to the next. And now when I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, he started talking after that. Within a month,
Mhm.
he could say all his colors. And then his speech, like we went 7 years of like nothing, could not get a word, nothing that meant anything, so much speech therapy. And I had given up. And now we are 4 years later, and he never, ever shuts up. Ever. He just talks all the time. But when you're in it, you can't, you have to focus on the survival. You're literally in survival mode, and you're still kind of getting past that survival mode status. And then as the years pass and you have the chance to recover and you have the chance to look back. I mean, they say hindsight's 2020, right?
Mhm.
Then that's when you can see how it has affected your life and how you've hopefully been able to take that trial and use it to become a better person.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think, there's been a lot of reflection moments, but there is a lot to come. And there will be years of processing, years of unlearning, years of, unpacking scar tissue, both literally and physically. So yeah, overall, I've just been really grateful for the opportunity to find out who I am and find out more about what that means for me, because a lot of times, like when people ask, who are you, like, we either have some sort of professional elevator pitch that we use because we're so tied to our job, or we start talking about all the roles that we have to other people.
Yes.
Yeah. And for me, this whole experience has allowed me to think really critically about who I am and how I know that. And in turn, like, how's that going to make me a better me? And whatever relationship I have to other people comes secondary. And I think for so long, I was just so focused on those relationships as primary. I am someone's girlfriend. I am someone's daughter. I need to make my parents proud because I'm someone's daughter. Like, I need to do this for my sister because she's my sister. I need to do this for my friend because they're my friend. Like, I need to show up this way because insert relationship here, as
Instead of
opposed to,
focusing on your relationship with yourself.
yep, 100%. So that is my sunshine moment, focusing on my relationship with myself. And this journey has been unmatched with ups and downs, but it's really allowed me to do that. And I think will continue to allow me to do that in a way that's really meaningful.
And you know what? It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I think there's often, especially in this case, there's so much pain in the beauty.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much heartbreak, there's so much trauma wrapped up in the beauty, but somehow it makes the little sparkly parts sparkle better,
Exactly.
in comparison. This has been really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. And I think what you're doing is really awesome, and bringing great stories to the forefront. I think it's an important part of just humanity in general. So
It is.
kudos
There's
to
this
you.
there's this like, I don't know, saying that like we need to connect, right? We all just like desperately need like true connection with each other. And there's this, and I can't even remember the words of it, but this idea of like, if you heard another person's story, you couldn't help but love them. If you like really heard and listened to where they're coming from. And so that's what I'm doing here, is listening to other people. We don't get listened to enough, you know?
Mhm.
And we just need that more in our lives, to be able to listen to other people and hear, because we all have different things that happen to us. We all have wildly different lives and circumstances and things that happen. And so as we are able to broaden our horizons and listen to other people's stories, we become more compassionate and we become just better people.
Yeah. Yep. I could not agree like, I could not agree more. 100%. And I
Awesome. So
think,
sorry, continue. I was gonna say, how can we follow you on social media? How can we keep in touch with you?
yeah, excellent. So I'm an Instagram gal. I also use Facebook because I'm a millennial. So I'm still active there. So on Facebook, you can find me, Nikki Joyner. That's CKI. And Joyner's with an I, not a Y. And you can find me on Instagram. That's so Nikki, or if you search Nikki Joyner, it'll come up. I'm also on LinkedIn. I use that a lot for my 9 to 5 job. So you can find me there. You guessed it, Nikki Joyner. So those would be probably the 3 primary ways if you wanted to get in touch with me. But DMs are open. So if folks have questions or just reflection points, or really just want to connect, and maybe we talked about something today that really resonated with you, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And I'd love to get to know you and connect with you and make a friendship there.
Awesome. Thank you. Any final, like, last words of wisdom before we wrap up?
Yeah, words of wisdom. That's a great thought. I don't know wisdom necessarily, but I think, I would really just anchor in that I firmly believe that everything happens for a reason. And there was many times where I thought that I wasn't going to be able to get out of this. And the people that were the closest to me helped me through it. I was also probably the worst to them. So thinking about the people that you have close to you, my words of wisdom, regardless of if it's weight loss surgery or really any big milestone life, is don't take for granted the people that are close to you that want to see you win.
Oh, I love that. That's really beautiful. Well, thank you so much again for coming on and telling your story.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have an amazing day.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh boy, Nikki's incredible. I just loved hearing her story so much, and it just really touched my heart because again, you guys heard, like, I've been through the same surgery and it didn't go the same way, but it was really close to my heart, all the things that she was talking about. So here are my very favorite takeaways. Number 1, in those moments, I was like, maybe there's a greater reason for this. Maybe there's a greater reason why I'm here thinking about this and experiencing this the way that I am. Number 2, it's about really being intentional with your life and intentional with caring for your own body. Number 3, as women, we are socially conditioned to be caregivers. It has taken a lot of unlearning and processing about how can I do this in a way that feels genuine but also feels right. Number 4, you can't care for other people if you don't first care for yourself. Number 5, I've just been really grateful for the opportunity to find out who I am and find out more about what that means for me. Number 6, that is my sunshine moment, focusing on my relationship with myself. Number 7, there is so much pain in the beauty. There's so much heartbreak. There's so much trauma wrapped up in the beauty, but somehow it makes the little sparkly parts sparkle better in comparison. And number 8, don't take for granted the people closest to you that want to see you win. Oh, these are such beautiful words, and I hope that we can all really let them sink in and take them to heart, because they can change your life. Like, I mean, self-care, I'm a self-care coach. It's seriously the most important thing. And like, we've been taught our whole lives that self-care is something that is selfish and egotistical and narcissistic, and it's actually like the greatest thing that you can do for humanity is to really love yourself, because you show up better to everyone else around you when you are in a good place, and you're the only one who's responsible for making sure that you are taken care of. So that's the message I want to leave you with. Those quotes are incredible. I hope that you will check out all of the graphics that I've made. I'll be posting them throughout the week on Instagram at carolee.garrison and on my Facebook page, which is just Carolee Garrison. And they'll be everywhere, so you can go check those out. Oh, they're also on TikTok, which might be Carolee Garrison Music, I think. Anyways, I hope that you will go check those out and share them. They are a beautiful, like, little way to just spread the sunshine, spread that message that, like, loving yourself is so, so important. So share those if you get the opportunity. That would be amazing. And as always, I'm going to leave you with a song, and I hope that you have an incredible day and a super amazing week. And I hope that you have so much sunshine around you and that you're able to see it. Even if you're surrounded by darkness right now, I hope that you can see those little sparkles of light that really are there. Bye.
The iceberg. I'm the smooth surface, hiding turbulent waters. I built a bridge over the mud. I moved the rocks out of the path for you. This pretty face is all you see, but there is so much more to me. You'll never know what lies beneath, because I won't let you in. There is a shadow over my bed, over my head. It sees my longing. There is a danger within my heart, tearing me apart. What if I never? I am the calm before the storm. I am the tip of the iceberg. I'm the smooth surface, hiding turbulent water. But there is so much more to me. I will no longer quiet my heart, silence my voice. It's not my destiny. I will no longer hide all my thoughts, banish my dreams. I know it's my turn. I am the storm after the calm. Ooh, I have the depth of the iceberg. Ooh, turbulent waters have nothing on me. I will no longer hide beneath. I found my power me.